Helldivers has been out for over 2 years. In that time, we've accumulated over 181 different ways to bring democracy to the galaxy. Most of them, as you can imagine, are sitting in your arsenal collecting dust. So I decided to do something that will allow me to enjoy everything our arsenal has to offer in the most chaotic way possible. This is a Helldivers 2 loadout randomizer. It can roll your entire loadout for you, from armor, weapons, stratagems, and even your boosters. You can even tweak which war bonds you like to include or exclude, guarantee a support weapon or a backpack, and even control which types of stratagems you can roll. So I'm going to leave what I bring into a mission entirely to the randomizer. Whatever it rolls, I will bring. There's just a couple of exceptions. I'm going to pick which armor passive and booster I get to bring in. Why? I want my armor to support the chaos of my loadout rather than not benefit it at all. And I want to pick the booster because I don't want to end up taking something that will screw the team over, like Dead Sprint. And just to make sure I'm not going to be a total liability, I'm allowed one veto. No, not that one. This veto lets me change and or reroll a slot into something that would balance the build out a little. That being said, in the spirit of this challenge, I'm going to try and not slot in the obvious meta picks. After all, where would the fun be in that? Once a loadout is settled, I take it into Super Helldive against all 3 factions and then tell you what I think of it. RN Jesus takes the wheel and I'm just along for the ride. Now, let's roll. We have Daybreaker, we have a Redeemer, an Incendiary Grenade, a Laser Cannon, anti-personnel mines, a mortar sentry, as well as a guard dog breath. This is a flexible enough loadout. What do I want to reload? Is there anything that I want to veto to change out? I think I will veto probably the mortar sentry for something else. Okay, well, there's our heavy armor problem solver. I think we'll stick to this. Now let's dive. The Breaker proved to be a very strong primary weapon because it effortlessly takes out all of the stupid floating Doritos that like to swarm you. It was decent at dealing with Overseers, but their ablative armor makes them a little too tanky to deal with, especially when they are grouped up. It was far more effective to use my las cannon instead. Take out the Overseers here. They go down pretty fast if you aim for the head. Speaking of las cannon, it worked decently against some of the bigger threats like Veracitors and Gatekeepers, but against Harvesters, I felt it struggled a bit because it was so tanky and its shield could absorb a lot of punishment. And it was here that the autocannon sentry carried me when it came to dealing with them. Alright, nice. I also think the Redeemer and Dog Breath were mostly inconsequential to the gameplay. Granted, I did forget to bring the Dog Breath with me in one of my games, but even when I did take it with me, I didn't think it helped all that much. The nature of the fight was such that I would be spending most of my time either getting surrounded or running away, which meant things were often close enough to be taken out by the Breaker, or the las cannon would do the job instead. This is worth dying for. Yep, that was worth it. It was only as an absolute last resort that I would pull out the Redeemer, which didn't happen very often. The landmines weren't all that useful against this enemy type as well, because the most annoying ones, the Doritos that could float or fly, trying to cut off and deny pathways often didn't really do much, and even if it did, they would soon respawn nearby again. Okay, good to know. Even though they don't have feet, they can still step on it. Overall, I think this combination of weapons and equipment was pretty mid against the squids. Not bad, but not great by any means. Against the bugs, this loadout was very effective at dealing with the Spore Burst strain. Between the gas damage from the Dog Breath, the burn from the las cannon and incendiary grenades, I had no issues trying to deal with their movement speed buff from the spores. And because I was dealing with Spore Bursts, I very rarely used my Breaker and Redeemer. Most of the time, they'd burn or be gassed to death. And as long as I could put some distance between me and the bugs, this loadout actually did pretty well. There was even a moment where most of the loadout was used synergistically. I threw incendiaries at a bug breach, then called in my autocannon sentry to cover the big ones, and then throwing a minefield right on top of them. In the meantime, I also beamed everything that popped up with the last cannon, while also using the incendiaries to provide some cover for the autocannon sentry. Nope, that didn't land where I wanted it to. Put the mines on top there. Paint the problems away. Gonna cover my anti-tank a little bit with fire. The main struggle for this loadout was when I had to deal with Bile Titans and chargers without the support from the sentry. It takes an awful lot of time to beam down these enemies while repositioning and waiting for the last cannon to cool. But as long as I had some team support nearby, they didn't turn out to be too much of an issue. It can be done, but it's gonna take a while. In fact, once I called in my second last cannon, I effectively doubled my DPS by removing the downtime from having to wait for the weapon to cool. This meant I could take on chargers and Bile Titans way more effectively. I don't like the fact that this charger is here. I would be more comfortable if it died. Nice. But it came at the cost of being pretty immobile while doing so. Juggling two support weapons for maximum DPS, all things considered. I actually like using this loadout against the Spore Burst variant. Only wish I had more utility for my secondary. Lastly, against bots, I think this loadout showed the most potential. The Breaker could shred Berserkers and Devastators in only a few shots to their bellies or a nice clean shot to their tiny head. If they got too close, the Dog Breath would buy me some space by gassing them. The Incendiary Grenade also had some use, but it was mostly to repel the advance of Troopers and Berserkers. Getting up close and personal is when the Dog Breath will be useful, as well as the Breaker, but this kit is designed to be away from problems and not land right in the... oh my god, not land right in the middle of it. Oh. Even the Redeemer could find a little bit of purpose here, using its better range and accuracy to gun down Devastators from a little further away. But the bot front is where the last cannon got to strut its stuff, capable of taking on all but the tankiest of armored enemies. Hulks in particular were fun targets to take down because all it took was just 1.5 seconds straight to the eye slot and you'd blow the whole thing up. The mines, however, were really fun for dealing with bot drops when my teammates or I didn't accidentally step on them ourselves. Oh my god, my own mines. So after all is said and done, what do I think about this randomized loadout? I think it's actually a very workable combination of weapons. Everything revolves around the versatility of the last cannon, and most of it serves to either work with the strengths of the weapon, or help compensate a little for its weaknesses by creating space. My main gripe with the loadout is its relative lack of anti-tank capabilities and burst damage. A single factory strider can often make the battle difficult because there's very little you can actually do without more punchier weapons like a 500 kilo, an EATS, or even a Pissile to at least take out its main cannon. The idea of creating space to allow the last cannon to put in work is inherently a viable strategy. It's just the options I had might not have been the best at doing it. Overall, it was very fun to try this loadout and I learned a lot from playing it. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one, Helldivers.